Hi there, I'm David Icke, and we are here to talk about fiction writing. Actually, I want to talk about Christmas because it's almost Christmas, and I have a confession to make. Christmas has become kind of boring. Things you can't say, right? When we think of Christmas, we usually think about Jesus and a little baby lying in a manger in a stable. And there's a donkey and a cow, and there's Mary and Joseph beside him, and there's the angel up on the roof for some reason. And then here come the shepherds and the sheep and the wise men with their camels, right? It's a familiar scene, even for those who don't frequent a church. And let's not even talk about our modern commercialization of Christmas and the presents and the tinsel and the ho 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 and all that. But if that's all that you see, well, it's nice, but it's kind of boring. Be honest, wouldn't you agree? And that is a crying shame, because I see the Christmas story as the very seed of story itself. When we think of story in the West, we're thinking in explicit terms of Christmas and Easter. So let me reframe it for you. Here's the synopsis. A royal prince sees his people in trouble. A province has rebelled. So he leaves all of his riches and his power and glory, and he goes in disguise as a commoner, and he walks among his people. He receives mysterious and unexpected gifts from foreign kings and the most unlikely allies ever. Another king tries to kill him, but he escapes in the nick of time. He gives unexpected gifts to those most in need. He calls out the bad leaders who have not led well. He does battle with evil spirits, and it seems like he's been utterly defeated when at the last moment, to the surprise of all, he arises triumphantly, having defeated the big boss, Death himself. Now that is a story, right? So why do we make it so boring? They say that familiarity breeds contempt, and I think that we've probably become too familiar with it. There's an early 20th century English author by the name of G.K. Chesterton, and if you've never read his essays, you are missing out. They're a real treat. He has a wonderful and majestic book called The Everlasting Man, and I want to read a little part from it for you. This is what he has to say. In the specially Christian case, we have to react against the heavy bias of fatigue. It is almost impossible to make the facts vivid because the facts are familiar. And for fallen men, it is often true that familiarity is fatigue. I am convinced that if we could tell the supernatural story of Christ word for word as of a Chinese hero, call him the Son of Heaven instead of the Son of God, and trace his rayed nimbus in the gold thread of Chinese embroideries or the gold lacquer of Chinese pottery instead of the gold leaf of our own old Catholic paintings, there would be a unanimous testimony to the spiritual purity of the story. We should hear nothing then of the injustice of substitution or the illogicality of atonement, of the superstitious exaggeration of the burden of sin, or the impossible insolence of an invasion of the laws of nature. We should admire the chivalry of the Chinese conception of a God who fell from the sky to fight the dragons and save the wicked from being devoured by their own fault and folly. We should admire the subtlety of the Chinese view of life, which perceives that all human imperfection is in very truth a crying imperfection. We should admire the Chinese esoteric and superior wisdom, which said there are higher cosmic laws than the laws we know. Chesterton had a lot more to say, but one of his main insights is that all the old pagan myths anticipated Jesus Christ, who embodied true myth itself. And likewise, we can see that all the stories that have come since are something like fan fiction that are responding to that one true story. So do with that what you will. As for me and my house, we're celebrating Christmas, and we're going to have a fun time of it. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. One that's full of joy, beauty, brightness, and Jesus Christ himself. And until next time, keep on writing.